What's up, everybody? How you doing? It's To Obey His Life here, the one and only Ice Lord, and I'm here to talk a little bit about my talents, skills, and Raven cards here for my Ice Wizard / Witchcraft build for Ravendawn. Pull up my skills here and show you what I got. So, in the Wizardry tree, we're going straight down Frost here. Now, everything here in Frost is pretty much you are going to take it for my build. The only thing that I would say is an exception is teleport here. I find it extremely useful, so I take it, but you can definitely use this point elsewhere until later on in the game when you have a free skill point to put in a teleport, because I think it's going to be useful to get at some point in the game, but I still find use for it early. So I pretty much go all the way down here in Wizardry. Okay. Now, as for passives, I personally think a lot of these passives are on the weaker side, at least for Frost. Amplification is a must, though. It's a free spell damage boost at the cost of mana. And although the mana costs do ramp up, like once you get past like level 25-ish, it's still worth it to take since you have replenish off of your staff. And like the damage boost is just insane. You could go Havoc. It ends up being more spell power, but you have to ramp it up and you have to crit, which usually isn't a problem for Frost, depending on the skill cards, on the Raven cards that we take. However, I still think Amplification is the move here, at least when you're first starting out. Once we get higher up in levels and we have more points to craft out our build, we can work with it, but I think the only other one I'll end up taking is maybe Havoc here. I could probably do Hot-Headed too, but I think Flow of Magic is a little weak. So let's go to skill cards for Frost. For the Frostbolt, you have dealing damage to the Frostbolt has a 12% chance to reduce Frost Shards cooldown by 2 seconds. I actually don't think this is too great compared to this one here. When you Frostbolt and you reach 3 Frost stacks, your target's deep frozen for about 3 seconds, and your Frost Lances always deal critical damage on deep frozen targets. So that's amazing when we use it in conjunction with the Raven card that we have for Ice Frostbolt or Frost Lance. So we're going to take Icicle Gazer for this one. This is the Frost Shards one. Increases the base critical chance of your Frost Shards by 5% per Frost stack on the targeted creature. So you can have a base crit chance on your Frost Shards of like 15%, which is okay. I mean, that's good. It's good stuff here, but I've actually found this one here to be a little more just reliable in just terms of just a flat damage increase. Just every Frost Shard you shoot out, each Frost Shard gets 5% more damage. And you shoot out about 2 Frost Shards per 10 ether using 50 ether, so like 10 Frost Shards. So that ends up being your last Frost Shard's going to do an extra like 50% damage. And now the important one here, this Ice Lance one. This Frost Lance one, sorry, Frost Lance. If Frost Lance critically strikes, resets its cooldown. Increases the critical damage multiplier of Frost Lance by 15%. So this is huge. So we use this in conjunction with our Frostbolt Raven card. We stack 3 Frost stacks on the target, and then we shoot off a Frost Lance, insta-crit, get the cooldown reset. And then you can choose to either fire off another one immediately if you have the ether, or stack up the deep freezes on another target. Because there is a little bit of a cooldown. You can't just stack the 3, shoot the Frost Lance, and stack another 3 and shoot the Frost Lance. There's a little bit of a buffer period. Now this one is... it depends on your playstyle. So you can take this one here. Cold Blast targets are now deep frozen. And we know how that works with the Frost Lance. It'll automatically crit, and then we'll get the cooldown reset. So you could play Ice Shell Giant here. You could go 3 Frostbolt stacks with your Frostbolt, shoot off a Frost Lance, crit, get it reset, then Cold Blast your target, get another Deep Freeze, and Frost Lance, get it reset again. You could shoot Frost Lance up to 3 times here in like 2 seconds. This is going to be really good for like PvP and stuff. Single target, essentially, is going to make this card really good. However, for leveling and grinding mobs, I've found this one to be better, the Frostbound Drake. When you Cold Blast, you get a stack that increases the spell power of your next Frost Shards or Ice Storm by 5% up to 3 stacks. So if you Cold Blast at least 3 mobs, you can increase the damage of your Blizzard or your Ice Storm by 15%, which I found to be so useful for grinding mobs. So I take that one. We're not really going to go over the teleport one. I don't have the good Ravencard for it. I mean, after teleporting, you gain a Surge of Magic, increases your spell power by 7%. I mean, it's okay. But this one's way better. What this card does is when you teleport, it automatically procs a Cold Blast, which is awesome. I just don't have it. Now let's talk about Blizzard Beast. Oh my goodness. Let's talk about the Ice Storm. This card here, I think is going to be good later on once you get the higher versions of it. But only dealing 60% of your Ice Storm damage is kind of trash, honestly. I mean, it's beneficial that you don't have to channel it for 3 seconds anymore. And against certain mobs, I guess it would be useful to take this because they can interrupt you. But so far, up to almost level 30 now, I'm level 28, I haven't had a need to take this at all. Like, channeling Blizzard hasn't, or Ice Storm hasn't caused problems to where I would need it to not be channeled. So I take this one. Ice Shards fall twice as fast, and Ice Storm deals 30% more damage. So your Ice Storm does 30% more damage, coupled on top of an extra 15% damage when you Cold Blast at least 3 mobs, and you can make AoE grinding super easy. And all the damage is buffed by amplification, which is awesome. So then we'll go over to Witchcraft here. And I'm just going like for survivability, really. So that's why I go Curse, Leech, and then Eternal Worms is what I've gone to. I've tried Siphon, but I honestly think Siphon needs a buff. I mean, Witchcraft just needs a buff in general. I think a lot of these talent spots are just out of place, really. Like, especially like this one here. Like, okay, if let's say you want to go full Witchcraft, right? I mean, there's no reason, like, you have to go Arcane Pulse because you need like an auto attack, and then you go Arcane Torrent. But then you've already spent 2 of your points going down here, and it's like you can't even take your dots now, unless you want to like be behind on getting down the tree. So for Witchcraft, I'm going Curse, Leech, Eternal Worms, and then my plan after that is I'm probably gonna go Mirror Image, Death Touch, but I don't know if I'm gonna take Death Touch immediately. I think what I'll end up doing is going Mirror Image, and then I might grab some passive. I think I'll go Curse Touch off the bat, off the rip, increase the effectiveness of damage over time skills by 20%, which is going to not only increase the damage of my Leech, not only increase the damage of my Curse, but it's going to increase the damage that Eternal Worms does from consuming all of the dots, because they're going to be 20% more effective. So I think I'll go Curse Touch, and then after that we can either go into Exploitation, which I think is really strong, or like Creeping Death. I mean, I think a lot of the Witchcraft passives are actually really strong, so I think I'll end up taking more of these than I do the Wizardry passives. I think I'll go Exploitation, because that's going to increase the damage everything in my Frost Tree does. Then I'll probably go with Curse Touch, Creeping Death, and then maybe Bloodmancer. But let's get into the Raven cards here. I don't really have many Witchcraft cards, so I don't actually know what this one does. I'm gonna guess that it might be better than this one. Curse now deals 5% more damage each tick from the previous one, and Curse kind of lasts a long time. It lasts for up to 18 seconds, so I mean it's pretty effective, and it increases the damage of your Eternal Worms. So I mean it works out. And then for Leech, both of these are good options, right? When you're below 60% health, your leech now heals you for 25% more. Pretty strong. Just depends on how often you're below 60% health. And then you have the Ruby Cat Mushroom. Basic attacks you make on targets affected by your leech heal you for 10% health of the damage dealt. So essentially, when you're auto-attacking your main target, whichever target that you have the red circle on, you're just going to be healing a little extra every time you auto-attack. So this will be really strong for like single target and stuff like that. But I've just got more general use out of this one, especially since I do a lot of like AoE pulling. Just putting that on a mob and having it tick on the mob and heal me while I'm below 60%. I've been finding a good use out of this Vampire Necromancer. But I think in PvP this might be the move. I'm not sure. But I've been leaning towards Vampire Necromancer for Leech. And then Eternal Worms, this one's interesting. So you got this one, which deals 2.5 spell damage for every damage over time consumed by the Eternal Worms for 8 seconds. And the amount stolen from the affected target cannot be bigger than 25% of your natural maximum spell power. An already affected creature cannot have its spell power stolen again. I don't think this is as... I mean, it's a general damage boost, which is cool. And it would be helpful for your frost spells, but I have found the Glutton Hag to be more useful. Eternal Worms now applies a Twilight Curse for each damage over time consumed up to 3 stacks. Twilight Curse deals 10% spell damage to the target every 3 seconds for 15 seconds. So essentially it consumes your dots and then puts 1 stackable dot onto the target. So I've been taking that one. Now, unfortunately, I don't have 3 dots. I only have 2, so I only have Curse and I only have Leech. The plan... It still does good damage with 2 stacks, but I think eventually I might at least get to Erupt here. And just to be able to go 3 dots for the Eternal Worms. Or I could just literally just take Fireball for 3 dots. And just for purposes of stacking the Eternal Worms, but we'll see how important that is, because I might want to end up going down some spiritual eventually. But yeah, that's all of my Raven cards and stuff, and I'll show it to you, a little bit of it in action here. So we can get our Frostbolt resets here, 1, 2, 3, then we can Frost Lance. Cooldown gets reset, so we can just Frost Lance again, since we have 50 Ether. That's a good combo for a single target. And then you got your kind of like your healing rotation / stacking up damage. If like a target is super tanky, you just put your dot, you put your curse on them, you put your leech on them, you start healing, then you worms them, and then it does like all the damage of the dots. You get the 2 stacks on them, reapply your curse, and then I can like, teleport over here and just start sending frost shards. And then your AoE pulls are going to look something a little bit like this with the Arctic Blast, or the Arctic Blast card. So we'll like pull, we'll like curse him, get the dot ticking. We'll grab this guy, we'll put a curse on him, just have him ticking. Grab this guy, put a curse on him. And then what we'll do is we'll Arctic Blast, since we got 3 targets. And now we'll Frost Storm for 15% increased damage. And that's kind of how your AoE pulls are going to look like. And just so you can see kind of how much healing your Eternal Worms is going to do for you, if you proc it straight away after you pop Leech, you should gain a lot of health back. So I'll go like boom, Curse, Leech, Eternal Worms immediately, and I just healed 300 health just right off the rip there. Super useful. Curse him up, teleport over here, Ice Shards, then we'll stack 3 Frost Bolts, finish him off with the Frost Lance. The Frost Lance gets reset, so then we'll stack 3 on this guy, Frost Lance him, and then it resets and it'll Frost Lance again, and you just had a really solid single target rotation going on there. And then you just toss on dots to heal, or to throw in some extra damage if you're kiting. And yeah, so, and I've also been dumping all of my stats into intelligence, just straight intelligence, nothing else. So I hope you enjoyed my build, and yeah, let me know in the comments if you guys have any questions or anything like that.